So, folks, the fake doctor, McCainisthroughX, excuse me, the janitor, McStupidX, did a video on why Chicago is the best city in the world. Not just the best city in Cook County, mind you. Not just the best city in Illinois. Not just the best city in the Midwest. And we're not talking about homicide rate here. Of course, Detroit would have that. Flint, Michigan, depending on how big a city you're talking about. Not just the best public toilets. The best city in the Midwest. Not just the best city in the continental 48. Not just the best city in North America. Chicago's the best city in the world. And as you'll see, McCainisthroughX, she just saw, and she does this a lot, she saw something she liked. They told her what she wanted to hear, and she believed it. So I was going to do a video responding to this, to some of my pre-recorded comments from a while back on Chicago city spending and Chicago homicide, but that'll be on the back end of this. So first of all, some observations concerning her bad logic and some things I recorded. She even almost got in a fight with one of the people, one of the this channel has no content morons that post on all her videos. She almost got in a fight with him. And notice how she, well, let's put that up. Notice how McStupid, she doesn't like, all her arguments are, I hate Republicans and Republicans suck. She has nothing to say good about Democrats. And if she's going to complain about Chicago, about Republicans piling on debt, really, McCainisthroughX? Do you know how much Chicago city spending has increased over the past 40 years? You'll find out. Now, you won't listen that long because your ADHD will take over. Plus, you don't listen to anything that disagrees with you. You just throw a little hissy fit and call them a racist and declare victory. But notice how this other person, this computer user, was talking about all the crime on the south side and all the vacant buildings. Cleveland leads the way with vacant buildings in Detroit, though. And talking about all the crime, and McStupid kind of brushed that away. We're not there's only one person on her channel, but she's still using the we stuff. I'm going to do a video about that sometime. That's funny. Some stuff she said from years and years and years ago that she doesn't know that I still have. It went from I, me, and my to we, but notice how that user kind of called Chicago out for some stuff, and McStupid ended it with notice how she didn't try to defend how the Democrats have ruined Chicago. But she pivoted to the Illinois governor who was in there for 4 years and then got thrown out. And then she went on had an autistic fit talking about Republicans piling on debt. Was Obama a Republican? And that's how she basically does it. She'll always pivot to that. She can't defend Democrats. The only thing she can do is say Republicans suck worse, which isn't much of an argument. That's like, here's a car with no tires and no wheels, and here's a car with just wheels but no tires. Let's see which one drives better. I don't think either one of them is going to do very well. But let's get to some other things in here. McCainisthroughX is a riot. This is all ambiguous. Oh my gosh, your city sucks. if you don't have concerts every week? And if there's not a place to get drunk, nightlife and drinking. Who did they ask? I bet they didn't go to the South Side. Did they ask any, has the city got better over time? Well, people are leaving Chicago. This is clean, safe. Chicago has one of the highest homicide rates in the U.S. Affordable. What's affordable? So San Francisco wouldn't be very good because they've priced, black people have left San Francisco because they can't afford to live there. Desperate to visit. They're desperate to visit Chicago. Did they ask people living in Chicago's finest public housing? I mean, this is just stupid. Is it easy to make friends? So if you asked a bunch of antisocial people in this survey, your city would suck. You know, I bet I could go to some hippie commune in San Francisco and poll them who they're voting for president in 2016, and Jill Stein may have been leading the pack. Does that mean it actually happened? Look at this crap. People are leaving Chicago. Homicide, crime. Well, they do mention safe. Is your city safe? Clean, friendly, and beautiful. What's beautiful? What counts as beautiful? Yeah, nobody wants garbage in the street, but what's beautiful? So, if you're wondering why McCainisthroughX is a janitor, nothing about labor force participation rate. How about CPI inflation, core inflation versus other big cities? Yeah, it's just, so if Chicago spends millions of dollars on multicultural BS, does that count? That makes it good if they're wasting other people's tax money. Well, gosh, I bet there's a whole bunch of towns in rural Kansas that got a hole-in-the-wall bar. Does that count as a nightlife? Is it easy to make friends at the bar? Regularly meet up. I mean, this is just stupid. Sorry for going on and on, but this is why McCainisthroughX is a janitor. She believes stuff like this. She just believed it. A whole, wow, 33,706 people. Wow, awesome. That's a heck of a survey. Boy, let's poll 33,706 people in Texas and see who's going to win the 2020 presidential election. What a retard. McCainisthroughX, you are retarded. I'm surprised you could even run a mop bucket. Part of the reason I do these responses is I know sooner or later some progressive's going to open their mouth about it, and then I don't have to rehash everything. So let's get to the first video, which was a direct response to the janitor McStupidX back in 2016 when she was trying to blame Donald Trump for Chicago's homicide. And she admitted there that Chicago had a high homicide rate, but it's still the greatest city in the world. Yeah. People who aren't doctors, but they will take a look at it. And gentlemen, this is going to be I'll try to make this quick. Another response to the janitor from Chicago. The custodian McCainisthroughX, aka McStupidX, who is trying to blame the violence, these savages and these fatherless children, these bastard children in Chicago are running roughshod, and they've got, amazes me is they've got all this time to protest. You know, the reason you have a lot of time to protest, you don't have a job. Just like people who spend 24 hours a day on YouTube, they don't have a lot to do, so, you know, they just sit around and agitate all day. But watching this video, and it's all cut and paste, this is your typical McStupidX video, where she just cuts and pastes. This whole video was cut and paste. She didn't put any of it in her own words. This is complete and total plagiarism, but a few comments I've got. Basically, the video features hissy fits from Donald Trump and his detractors. Lots of whining and crying. Even Rachel Maddow admits this behavior isn't unique to Chicago, which is fast becoming one of America's toilets. Right up there with Detroit and Baltimore. Rachel Maddow also needs to learn that the violent crime and homicide rate is lower today than it was in the 1980s. Just because someone is mean doesn't mean you have to go into a bipolar rage getting angry about it. You know the old adage, if someone jumps off a bridge, are you going to do it too? So basically these people are just looking for an excuse to act like they're going to act anyway. Because a tiger is a tiger, and a shark is a shark, and a fatherless child in Chicago that has never had a decent male role model is a fatherless child in Chicago that's never had a decent role model. So, it's kind of... Actually, if it wasn't, if this wasn't so serious, I would laugh, but the U.S. homicide rate, 2011 through 2014. Are you listening, McStupid? The U.S. homicide rate, 2011 to 2014, was 4.6 per 100,000. The Chicago homicide rate, 2011 through 2014, was 16.18. 16.18 homicides per 100,000. That's more than 3.5 times the national rate. Chicago is what's statistically called an outlier. And by the way, McCainisthroughX has never taken a statistics class. She proved that in one of her videos, where she was put up a list of cherry-picked countries without going over demographics or guns per capita. Cherry-picked countries and said, oh, look, the U.S. has got more murders. Well, the U.S. is going to have probably more murders, especially with cities like Chicago around. The U.S. is going to have more murders than most cities or most countries, because McStupid, I don't know if you know this, fatty, but the U.S. has more people than most countries. I don't know if you know that, you dumbass. But anyway, McCainisthroughX, who is supposedly so brilliant, has never taken a statistics class. So that's not surprising, though. We are dealing with a janitor. And I've debunked a lot of this crap in my Debunking the Gun Control Anti-Second Amendment Kooks playlist, to go through that. So basically, Chicago has always been kind of a toilet. And it's a lot of fatherless children. There's a lot of uneducated idiots having kids. Let's just be honest. Just be honest. A lot of idiots having kids with no father figure. And Obama and his minions were, well, free stuff. Free stuff for you. And the destruction of the nuclear family, and I hate to sound like a Puritan here, but the destruction of the nuclear family is one of the main reasons blacks are poor. Because when the vast majority of them are single mothers, see, a mother's not equipped to just raise a child by herself. Every child needs a father. That's not a knock on women. Of course, any smart woman would say, yeah. I don't think any of them do. Any of them actually go, you know what, I think I'm going to have 3 kids from 3 different guys and just see how it works out. Yeah. But anyways, they try to blame all this, they try to blame this insanity in Chicago with all these barbarians, because they are barbarians and they are spoiled brats who think they deserve something merely because they are converting oxygen to carbon dioxide. They're going to act like this anyway because they're psychos, much like, it kind of reminds me of countries that are Muslim dominated. Except we've got a different group here. The same psychopaths, the same whining, the same hissy fits, and we're going to break everything if you don't give us our way. Sheriff Clark, 455 murders. This is back in August. 455 murders in Chicago this year, greater than coalition deaths in Afghanistan since 2013. Ooh, and Sheriff Clark, he's a black guy, so he can criticize Obama. Then we've got September 6th, 2016. Chicago hits 500 homicides. They're going for a record for 2016 after deadly Labor Day weekend. And again, all my links, unlike McStupid, I don't have to cut and paste 21 minutes of video from Rachel Mandel flapping his lips. I actually look all this up myself. I've got all the links underneath there. With the holiday weekend spate of violence that killed 13 people, this is America's toilet, Chicago, the homicide toll in the nation's third largest city hit 500, a grim milestone that puts the city on track to reach a murder rate it hasn't seen since drug wars of the 1990s. Keep fighting that war on drugs. It's working, Obama. It's working, Bill Clinton, who had to apologize for his stupid 3 strikes crap. And George W. Bush and Nixon and FDR and all the rest of you scumbags. Although I will hazard a guess that even if drugs were completely legal, Chicago would still be a crime-ridden cesspool. The Labor Day weekend murders come after police recorded 92 murders in August, the deadliest month for Chicago since June of '93. With murders up roughly 50% for the year, Chicago has tallied more homicides than the much larger cities of New York and Los Angeles combined, which means they have a much, much higher, McStupid, are you listening, homicide rate, because New York and Los Angeles have a lot more people. It's about the homicide rate, McStupid, but that's why you're a janitor. You've never taken a statistics class. The city is on pace to record well over 600 murders for 2016, a threshold it has not reached since 2003. Chicago regularly recorded more than 700 murders a year in the 1990s. Was that Donald Trump's fault? As gang violence driven by the crack cocaine epidemic raged. Speaking of raging, there's a lot of raging in Chicago. Last story, at least 17, this is from this past weekend. At least 17 people were killed and more than 40 others were injured in shootings. Is that Donald Trump's fault? Since Friday in the nation's third largest city, marking the deadliest weekend and is what has been the city's most violent year in more than a decade. There's already been more than 600 homicides in Chicago this year. The city is tallying murders at a rate not seen since the late 1990s in the midst of the violence fueled by the crack cocaine epidemic. And here's a big one. Uh-oh. Time for some butt hurt and some political incorrectness. Police and Mayor Rahm Emanuel have blamed the current spike in street violence on increased gang activity. So if they had a stable father figure, it's a lot less likely that they're going to be in a gang. And they blame the street violence and increased gang activity and gun laws that they say aren't strong enough to deter convicted felons from carrying and using weapons. So they're already barred. So what kind of laws do we need? Are they planning on trying to take away, and good luck with that, weapons from law-abiding folks like myself who have no criminal record whatsoever? Do you feel lucky? The vast majority of them, let's read that again. The police and Mayor Rahm Emanuel blamed the spike in violence on increased gang activity and gun laws that they say aren't strong enough to deter convicted felons from carrying and using weapons. So we need more gun laws to stop people who aren't going to follow the law. Okay, good. Got that. The vast majority of the murders have occurred in predominantly African-American neighborhoods on the city's south and west sides. Butthurt. So there you go. McCainisthroughX and Rachel Mandow trying to find a scapegoat for idiots in Chicago. And let's just face it, Chicago is a deplorable. That's the term Hillary Clinton should be using. Chicago is a deplorable city. And I am so glad I do not live there. And you people are a disgrace. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now. Now, the second video, where I examined Chicago spending in response to Dick Durbin saying Chicago needs more money from taxpayers in 49 other states. And I dissected and destroyed that. So follow the link underneath that video as well. Plenty of info there. I examined other cities, St. Louis and Cleveland as well, but I won't put in that part. We'll just focus on the part about Chicago. Progressives who should have used birth control, and gentlemen. The topic of this video will be, if you've probably heard a lot about this, how Chicago is broke, and we're going to break this down. I've got a much longer article which covers more of this, a little bit more in detail. I'm going to skip to the high points on this, but I've seen some progressive water carriers, insinuating that Chicago is not broke and Chicago is doing well when it is not. The impetus for this video, there was a janitor from Chicago named McStupid who was claiming that Chicago was the greatest city in the U.S. And that's pretty laughable. But then again, this janitor, well, that's why she was a janitor. She's not too smart. But another impetus for this was Senator Dick Durbin had a laundry list of goodies he wants for the city of Chicago. And if you live in Minnesota or the Dakotas, you'll pay for it because the children or something. Durbin has a list of goodies to make it all better. By golly, just a bit more money, and the drug addicts will become brain surgeons. The baby mamas will get degrees in interior design, and the gangbangers will erect grocery stores to serve the community. Just a few more million folks. And again, the only link you'll need will be in the video description. Unlike a lot of people on YouTube, I actually have sources and details. And it's not cut and paste. I will now endeavor to elucidate some information on Chicago. I already have a treasure trove of info on Illinois spending. Again, see the link under the video. But I'll wager Durbin has no idea how much is being spent there. And he really doesn't care. States already heavily rely on federal aid and the strings attached. If you've been paying attention, you already know this. Durbin, Senator Dick Durbin has some generalized rag we've been hearing for decades, along with some feeble appeals to close our gun laws. Because if they close their gun laws, Chicago will become a place everybody wants to live, and crime will crater, and it will be basically economic nirvana. No specifics from Durbin, but there are some gaps in there somewhere. Isn't the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the city of Chicago responsible for law enforcement personnel and spending in Chicago before Washington is? Is there anything Washington isn't responsible for, Mr. Durbin, or should we just dissolve all government below Leviathan? Chicago is a dying city. Its population in 2010 was 25.5% smaller than in 1950. 24% smaller than in 1960. No amount of federal money will reverse the processes of progressive politics, a massive welfare state, and a centrally planned economy. I blame we the people. We are selfish and jealous of those who are successful, like McStupid is jealous of me. Those who plan their lives, those who finished school, didn't get worthless degrees, and didn't have a gaggle of children who have no father and they cannot care for. That said, let's get down to brass tacks and see if Chicago's numerous problems are because they aren't spending enough money. Chicago employee pension, 1982 through 85 average, 8.69% of all Chicago city spending. Chicago debt retirement and interest payments, 1982 through 1985 average, 9.2725% of all spending. 1982 through 85 per capita average spending, $650.50. Again, 1982 through 85. Chicago pension funds, 1990 through 1993 average, 8.0925% of all Chicago city spending. Chicago debt service, 1990 through 1993 average, 19.875% of all spending. 1990 through 1993 per capita average, $1,140.75, a 75.3% increase from the 1982-85 average to the 1990-1993 average. Is Chicago spending enough? Again, a 75.3% increase from the 1982-85 average to the 90-93 average. Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs plus Mayor's Office of Special Events, from 1990 to 93, they spent $65,173,227. How many potholes would that have fixed? How many police officers could that have hired? But, you got to push diversity and cultural diversity and all this nonsense that should be somebody else's domain. $65 million. How many police officers would that have hired? How many snowplow drivers? How many potholes could that have filled? Etc. How many condoms would it have bought for the idiots? Just imagine all the condoms they could have bought for $65 million and prevented idiots from reproducing. Chicago pension funds, 2000 through 2003, average 7.6225% of all Chicago city spending. Chicago debt service, 2000 through 2003, average 18.1175% of all spending. Per capita spending, 2000 through 2003, $1,573.50. Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs plus Mayor's Office of Special Events, 2000 through 2003, total $117,950,788. How many potholes would that have filled? How many police officers could have been hired? How many fire department personnel could have been hired? How many useless people could be fired? How many useless teachers in Chicago could have been fired? How many good teachers could have been hired? Chicago pension funds, 2014 through 2017 average, basically 10% of all Chicago city spending. Chicago debt service, here's where it gets bad. 2014 through 2017 average, 24.3075% of all spending. Chicago's debt service chickens are coming home to roost. Chicago is now spending well over 1/3 of every dollar on debt service and pensions. For you progressives listening, that's more than 33 cents of every dollar. Per capita spending, 2014 to 2017, $2,802.50. These are all nominal dollars, of course. Per capita spending was 78.1% higher in the 2014-2017 time frame than the 2000-2003 time frame. Again, 78.1% higher. Per capita spending was 431% higher in the 2014-2017 time frame than the 1982-85 time frame. Both examples took the rate of inflation and beat it into oblivion. You get that? 433% higher. 31%. Excuse me, I keep messing that up. Total spending for Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events 2014 through 2017, $122,936,085. Apparently they've ratcheted down that spending a bit, but probably because they have so much going to debt service and pensions. So is Chicago spending enough? If they spent $100 million more on cultural diversity, would that work? Do you think if they spent took all that spending away from those useless departments and spent it on police, do you think it would make it any better? If Washington tripled the amount they were sending to Chicago for food stamps, do you think it would get better? Does Chicago's culture need a change? Should successful black, white, and Hispanic people who actually pay taxes in other states have their money confiscated when they could use it for something better and sent to Chicago?
20,000 inner city sweat hogs.
Or should Cook County be responsible for Chicago? Or Chicago be responsible for Chicago? I know progressives want to nationalize basically everything. Is there anything Washington should not be responsible for? We've come a long way since James Madison vetoed that bonus bill. And back then, the federal government was largely constrained to the Constitution, and now the federal government is virtually involved in everything. And yet Chicago is still a city that's dying. And that concludes my response to the janitor, McStupidX. Excuse me, I mean the fake doctor, McCainisthroughX. See that playlist up on your screen. All the videos I covered in here that I linked to, that I put screenshots of, are found there. And I've owned her many times. She had to block me almost immediately, and I've ran her off of every channel. She will not post on a channel I'm not blocked on. So she's that scared of me. So check out that playlist. And I also want to tell everybody all my responses to her are on over at my Upload Stars channel, which is also linked in my banner. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now.